Test, test. All right, so I just got back from San Francisco, where I was for 4 days, I guess. I did pretty much everything I had intended to do, which is one of the few times that has happened. So just to really quickly explain what that means. I travel a lot throughout the year because of the business I run. We do screenings and we set up booths at different conventions. And this year, what I wanted to do in 2018 is, instead of just travel and set up and, sell things or do screenings, I also wanted to utilize those trips to make a project, one big project. I was in San Francisco, and while I was there, I decided to go out to the Muir Woods, which is kind of outside of San Francisco. It's this gorgeous redwood forest, and it looks very Pacific Northwest, which is what I needed. We hiked about 5 miles total, and we got over 100 shots, which is great. That's just what I needed, is 100 shots. And I also managed to get 2 interviews. So one is with Lauren Coleman, who's a cryptozoologist, and the other is with a film director named Peter von Puttkamer. And Peter also does a lot of television, so he works with the Discovery Channel and stuff like that. Disclaimer, if you ever hear him in the background, my son lives in this house and my office is in the house. So you'll probably hear him a lot. He talks a lot, and I'm not really going to make any attempt to cut him out of this because he really wants to be heard. So we were on the West Coast, and something I had never done before was to fly with film gear. I decided what I was going to do was put together a kit, a travel kit of gear that I thought would travel well and do the job, but that I could fit basically in one backpack. I already talked about the drone, the Mavic Pro drone. It turns out I probably could have taken the Mavic Pro drone. I talked to Alexander Pedikov, who's a filmmaker friend of mine, and he told me he's never had any issues with flying with his Mavic Pro. What I did take is actually the lav mic I'm wearing right now, which is part of the Rode Filmmaker lav kit. It's the lav kit we have used since we made Boggy Creek Monster. It travels light. It's actually really cool to have because it plugs right into your camera. The sound is recorded directly to your camera, so you don't need a secondary recorder. And we have always found it to be the perfect sort of setup for these run and gun situations, which is what I was in. When you consider the fact that I did manage to shoot 2 interviews in extremely precarious situations, loud public venues.
Wow. The Sister Lakes creature. A lot of those creatures have hair all over their face, and it's almost as if the eastern Bigfoot is a little farther away, is a little more invisible to the eyewitnesses.
And still record really solid audio and not have to lug a ton of equipment around. That's what I was looking for when I was packing for this trip. So the Rode Filmmaker lav kit is always a great option when it comes to sound. Something else I took is my little Rode lav kit for my phone. I'm not even sure what they call this thing. It might be a Filmmaker lav, I can't remember. But it's actually a tiny lav mic that plugs directly into your phone. We've actually used this for external audio or internal audio on a couple of our movies even. So it gets really good quality sound, and it comes in this tiny bag and it plugs directly into your phone. We also took my Zhiyun crane, which is the only gimbal I own. It's one of those handheld gimbals. We've used it on multiple films, including Invasion on Chestnut Ridge. It was like the only gimbal we had. It's a really high quality gimbal that apparently is in need of calibration because it's losing its mind right now. Highly recommend that. We actually traveled with that just out of the box, so I didn't even take the hard shell case it normally comes in. It was just sitting loose. But it's a really high quality gimbal, and I'm a big fan. The other gimbal I took is my DJI Osmo Mobile gimbal, and I actually used this a little bit for filming B-roll. If you haven't tried one of these out and you just need a gimbal for any situation, these are perfect. And they come in this little travel bag right here that is perfect for like carry-on. So instead of taking a tripod, I took my Benro monopod, and it actually has the feet that lock down, and you can kind of use it like you would a tripod. But I was able to shoot interviews by setting it on a table, and it was perfectly solid even in windy conditions. So I highly recommend one of those monopods with the feet. Just make sure it can handle a heavy workload. What we have is actually one of the video heads that sits on top of it, the Benro video heads, and they sell them in a full kit, so I highly recommend those. But that covers it. I used my phone. The camera we shot with is the A7S II, which I'm actually filming this with. I wish we could have taken the Mavic, but I think as is, we got some amazing footage in the redwood forest there. Overall, it was a really solid trip. Great sound on the interviews, great video on the interviews, thanks to the A7S II. For a lens, I actually just used the FE 3.5 to 5.6 kit lens that came with one of my earlier cameras. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to hit that subscribe button, please do that. I'll be back with more soon.